I can tell you a kind of disgusting kindergarten story from my past.
Oh, good. I never went to kindergarten. I love it already.
So I was in kindergarten, and it was nap time, and I knew that if I went to the bathroom during nap time, everybody would hear everything I'm doing in the bathroom.
Right.
So I decided I would go in my pants. I was probably crying or something, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
And the nap time ended, so I got up with everything in my pants and sat down in my seat. And everything squished all around in my legs and every crevice of my body. And I guess the teacher got wise, and she started going around the room sniffing each of our butts. Yeah. And then she got to my butt, and then, of course that's jackpot.
You can't help but love the guy. What a weird kid.
Every season of Survivor is a story. There are main characters, sidekicks, comic reliefs, and villains. A good season of Survivor tells a compelling story that has you rooting for someone and against someone else in hopes that it all ends in a satisfying conclusion. Each story that we look at together will go through one character's journey from beginning to end, from the time they're introduced until they inevitably get their torch snuffed or win the game. We will look at every character moment and strategic move to determine whether they were a hero or a villain, and whether they were a good or bad strategist. And with that, welcome to Once Upon an Island. Now, for reference, we are only observing what the TV show is showing us and what stories are being told through the show. No future seasons will be mentioned, as the story characters here have no idea about what happens in those future seasons. I will be utilizing secret scenes and behind the scenes footage to flesh out the story, and all character moments and strategic moves are interpreted with the mindset of what the story is trying to tell us. And now with that,
39 days, 18 people, 1 survivor.
Survivor is back in Samoa. Now, don't let the name South Pacific fool you. We have escaped the ugliness of Nicaragua, no doubt, but we are back to the same location we were in for seasons 19 and 20. We have 16 new players again, with 2 returnees in Coach and Ozzy. This season, heads up, is almost a one-for-one copy, format-wise, from season 22, which did finish airing before this one began filming, so everyone here should be familiar with all the twists that are about to come. This does mean Redemption Island is back, and whoever wins the merge duel and the finale duel will get back into the game despite being voted off. That's right, if you're voted off, you can get back in the game. John says, I may be the most savvy Survivor player ever since I wrote an award-winning essay about Survivor juries. Did the essay say anything about telling your tribes you pooped your pants in kindergarten? Just wondering. Ozzy and Coach then arrive, and everyone wants Ozzy on their tribe and no one wants Coach. Yeah, that adds up actually. But then Jeff finally talks to John and...
I know that the players you really like, you tend to call them by their last name. So I was hoping you could call me Cochran.
Okay, all great players?
Yeah.
We'll see if you live up, Cochran. Cochran, reaction to seeing Coach and Ozzy.
They have so much experience. They played, this is their 3rd time each. They have so much knowledge of the game and in terms of surviving that I think they'll be huge assets to us.
Cochran, you didn't even hesitate when you said they've both played 2 times before. You knew that.
Yes, I am a fan of the game, so I'm not going to hide that. This is an out-of-body experience for me right now. I have a buff collection at home, so.
Question, why does Jeff act like Cochran, knowing Coach and Ozzy have played twice before, is somehow this super fan knowledge? That's something anyone could easily Google. That's not like some deep quote that no one references or anything. That's like basic knowledge. Thankfully, Ozzy lands on Cochran's tribe and we get a hero match between Ozzy and Coach for camp supplies. Ozzy wins, and upon arriving at the Savai'i camp, Cochran keeps it honest and tells everyone that yes, I do go to Harvard, and no one seems to care. But then Ozzy says, forget building a shelter, let's go swimming.
Ozzy suggested, let's just kind of have fun in the ocean. So the only option was to get in our underwear. And I was really opposed to doing this. I have this really pale skin. You can practically see through it. You can see my organs beating underneath my skin. So I wasn't crazy about the idea of going in the water. It's just gonna make me look more like a pathetic twerp than I already do with my clothes on. Reading this already. If this is like the 90210 tribe, I'm definitely one of the zeros.
Look at him, slow motion.
We then see Ozzy say, I am skeptical of Cochran because he is clearly someone who will not be able to contribute physically, which if you've seen Ozzy's past seasons, he cares a lot about that. It's true though. Cochran seems like a terminally online person who can self-deprecate really well. Just an observation. At the immunity challenge, they lose by 1 coconut, and the tribe mainly blames Semhar for this, so they want her out, not Ozzy. Ozzy thinks Semhar is hot, so he wants Cochran gone. Oh boy, maybe Coach's tribe would have been a better fit after all. Cochran says, my Achilles heel is my crippling insecurity, so hearing Ozzy think I am the weakest really sucks. We then go to tribal, where Cochran says, I want to be here more than Semhar, and I will contribute way more around camp than she ever will. And Semhar's like, oh, you wanting to be here is a negative against you, which I'm not quite sure if that makes sense, but whatever. Cochran says, I'll be your genie in a bottle, except you won't have to rub the bottle. I'll just be a genie. So they all go to vote, and
I think it's pretty obvious why I'm voting for you. You've questioned my intelligence, you've questioned my commitment to this game, and you're making me question why you have to be here any longer, so I can't take it.
First person voted out of Survivor South Pacific. Semhar. Semhar, the tribe has spoken.
let me put it this way, this season is all about 4 people. Ozzy, Coach, Brandon, and Cochran. Cochran is getting almost as much screen time as Ozzy, as he is tied for the second most confessionals with Coach after 1 episode. This means we have a massive character on our hands here. By the way, did you know that Patreon is free to sign up for? Yes, that is the place where I give updates, post videos early, and have you all pick what I make. Now has a free option. Link in the description, you can cancel anytime, and there's a 15% discount if you do sign up for 1 year. Thank you for your support. Episode 2 has Cochran thanking everyone for saving him, but he says in retrospect, I may have gone a bit too hard on Semhar at Tribal in an effort to save myself. He says his fight or flight led him to fight, which he found a bit unexpected. So he is going to implement a new plan, he says. He says time to be cool and not a nerd. Yeah, right. Papa Bear says Cochran's like a kid in a man's body with how awkward he is.
My mom's gonna have mixed feelings about the new Cochran. She'll be thrilled that I'm taking initiative and doing work, but the first thing she said when she found out I was gonna be doing Survivor is, I don't want you handling a machete without supervision. I appreciate her advice, but new Cochran doesn't follow mommy's advice all the time. He cuts open a coconut when he needs to, and he does it by himself with a machete. And I'm certainly never gonna become the big provider. I know I'm never gonna be Ozzy, I'm never gonna be Keith, never gonna be Jim, but I can at least be a new Cochran.
While Cochran is working hard, he is definitely not embracing the cool persona he said he'll be from now on. We especially see this when Jim says our tribe is split into 2 groups. One group is the cool people, which is about 5 of us, including me, and the others are Cochran, Don, and Papa Bear, who don't really fit in and are just on the outs. Their tribe wins immunity and reward, and in episode 3, Cochran is attracted to Elise. You see, Don and Whitney are already married, so Elise, while attractive, is the only single lady on their tribe. Papa Bear, who is gay, says, Cochran, I can teach you how to approach women.
It's not that different from a guy.
Right?
You walk over and you say, hi, how you doing? Can I tell you something? I really like those earrings. And just reverse it.
I don't think that's
Listen
gonna
to me.
work at all for me.
Listen
I
to me.
really like those earrings.
No.
Papa Bear is a nut, giving me girl advice, which is like, you know, I'll take it, but I don't particularly want it. I think I saw it at the store across the street, and I just noticed the earrings you're wearing. They're so great. I thought I was gonna get them for my sister or something. So, where'd you get these earrings?
Don't say that ever.
I don't know why I was
The
listening to-
earrings, honestly, if you came up and told me that you thought my earrings were good, I would think you're gay.
Now, do you recall the poop story I showed you at the beginning of this video? Yes, that was Cochran approaching Elise, and I think it is safe to say he failed in his flirting endeavors. Both the Papa Bear flirting and Elise poop story scenes are secret scenes and were cut from the main story, but I thought they were just too funny to not include here. Their tribe loses immunity, and the consensus seems to be that either Papa Bear or Cochran will be voted off next. Knowing this, we see Cochran and Papa Bear get into a massive fight that I am surprised was cut from the show.
How do you want Papa spelled?
John. John Cochran is Papa Bear in another language. You know I'm sitting next to you, by the way. And there'll be no holding hands with the vote. Not into that. Have a set of balls and stand there like a man when your name gets called. And when Jeff goes, get your torch, I'll be saying, good luck. Because you'll be spending the night with your new girlfriend, Christine.
You said you wanted to meet Christine, right?
I will meet her on finale night.
I think we could arrange something soon. You don't want to wait all the way until finale night.
If it's me tonight, you best not come back and say something rude. Because I'll be watching.
But I'm holding up the thing when I say.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna say he's the nicest guy in the world.
Saying Papa Bear couldn't stand you.
Wow, that was so intense. Papa Bear runs out into the forest and minutes later comes back with a bulge in his shorts that wasn't there before And no, it's not what you think. He's trying to imply he found an idol. And Cochran says, this is all a ploy, and I hope no one believes it. At Tribal Council, Jeff asked people about the pros and cons of looking for an idol. And Cochran says, while having an idol is nice, people seeing you searching for one is a much bigger negative in his eyes. So they all go to vote, and
I think you're a sweetheart, a really great guy, but you make me anxious, and I don't need any more anxiety in my life.
Third person voted out of Survivor South Pacific. Papa Bear. Papa Bear, the tribe has spoken.
honestly, I don't know how many tribals Cochran can survive if Savai keeps losing more immunities. However, episode 4 sees Elise and Ozzy are in lust. Sorry, Cochran. And Jim recognizes that this is bad for their game, especially his. After all, when Ozzy starts making out with a girl, that's it. We saw it in Micronesia. Just look at him and Amanda. I mean, come on. Jim tells Cochran a plan he has been concocting to eliminate Elise without Ozzy knowing the next time they go to Tribal. This is great for Cochran, but Jim says it will be hard to do this plan since Elise is so hot. That's what Jim says. And Cochran says, I can wear a seaweed wig if that helps make this happen. Cochran then talks to Dawn about this Elise plan. She's like, oh yeah, I'm all in. That is only 3 votes out of 7 though. They will need at least 1 or 2 more. And frankly, the swing votes here are Keith and Whitney. Whitney, who is married, by the way, and is flirting hard with Keith. That's a whole other story, let me tell you. They win immunity, and in episode 5, I need to show you a very important scene that takes place at the Redemption Island Arena.
It wasn't a team. It is Benjamin, Albert, and Sophie. But who's the ending to? Benjamin and Albert. The
Benjamin,
team.
coach.
What's his name? What was his birth name? It wasn't Coach. It was Benjamin, wasn't it? And you know, they're children, 26, 22. They over there listening to all the Benjamins, Halloween jokes, Chucky the Cheese jokes. They want it. He going off for loyalty, got them feet. Oh, Ben was so loyalty. Come on, man. Every day got a story. I wasn't buying it. No. So they trade like yesterday, like the tribal was all cahoots. Benjamin, let's give a hug. Keep that hug. For me, because it wasn't real.
I know that scene seemed like a joke, and it mostly is. I mean, Stacy is hilarious, but the info she reveals about who is running Upolu is all true. Benjamin, Albert, and Sophie are running that tribe. Back at the Savai camp, Dawn then tells everyone what Stacy ranted about on Redemption, about how Benjamin, Albert, and Sophie are running Upolu. Ozzy then jokes with Cochran about how to spell his name, and Cochran says, hey, don't worry about spelling my name. Don't even have my name exit your lips when talking about who to vote off. The reality is that Ozzy does want Cochran gone next, and Cochran can sense this at all times. But Cochran sees Ozzy and Elise are lying around, noticing how hard Cochran is working, like they're just watching him while they're laying down. Cochran says those two are so lazy, and he thinks that Ozzy has entered his middle-aged phase, which he refers to as basically you lie around all day and occasionally catch some fish, and people are like, oh, you're so amazing, but he doesn't do any of the other camp work, which is wild considering Prime Ozzy and Cook Islands was only 5 years ago.
Having watched Cook Islands and Fans vs. Favorites, you see Ozzy as this kind of superhuman, Mowgli-esque guy that can do no wrong. But Ozzy has kind of faded into this middle-aged Ozzy who, you know, has a few moments of glory each day where he runs out and gets us some fish. But otherwise, he's just kind of a lazy ass. He's becoming the arrogant fisher boy, jungle boy, who feels like he can do no wrong and that he's entitled to our deference. And the more he acts like this, it's going to come back to bite him in the ass.
What I find interesting about that assessment from Cochran is how it is very similar to what Penner said in Cook Islands as to why he didn't want to give Ozzy his vote for $1 million over Yule. Their tribe then has an immunity challenge where they have to rip meat with their mouths and put it in a bucket. It's gross, and they barely lose by 2 ounces. Back at camp, Cochran freaks everyone out when he says, hey, we probably all have oral herpes now. And they're like, why would you say that? Cochran's like, it's true. Like, most people have oral herpes. So if you didn't have it before, you definitely have it now. Perfect, Cochran. That's the way to make the ladies swoon. Ozzy, of course, still wants to vote off Cochran. I guess what else is new? And at Tribal, Jeff and the tribe can all they can talk about is Cochran, 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 Cochran. I mean, it's just endless. This whole season is only about 4 people, and he is one of them. So they all go to vote, and
it's the second to last stop for the train. Sorry, man. Hope you get that second chance.
Cochran. Cochran. It's 2 votes, Cochran. Dawn. 1 vote, Dawn. Elise. Elise. We're tied. 2 votes, Cochran. 2 votes, Elise. Dawn. We're tied. 2 votes, Dawn. 2 votes, Cochran. 2 votes, Elise. 1 vote left. 5th person voted out of Survivor South Pacific. Elise. Elise, the tribe has spoken.
Wow. Ozzy's so hurt by the betrayal. Anytime he finds a girl hot, he gets blindsided. Watch out, Whitney. Ozzy says, screw all of you. I'm a free agent now. And by the way, I have the idol. Ha ha. Now, I know Ozzy thinks he pulled one over on them, but if anything, it's free information. Cochran says, I love Ozzy when he has a temper tantrum. It's great for me.
I don't know if Ozzy's temper tantrum is going to continue well into the future, but the less pleasant he is, the better it is for me. So I hope he continues, being a crybaby because it's great for me. Oh, in all seriousness, he's just behaving like a stupid bitch.
Ozzy then comes to his senses and apologizes to everyone, but it is time. It is finally time to address Whitney and Keith. The show purposely avoids them seemingly as much as possible, and that is because, in my mind, they're flirting hard and having a showmance, which Survivor normally likes. But as mentioned before, Whitney is already married, so it's awkward. Almost all of their scenes are hidden in the recap episode that most people skip when watching a season, and Cochran says they cuddle up all night and get weirdly close. Anyways, their tribe wins immunity and reward, and the reward is at this awesome waterfall where Cochran says, yeah, I'm not a water person, but I am a sparkling water person. So we move on to episode 7, where Christine is killing it on Redemption. I haven't really talked about it, but Christine has knocked out everyone on Redemption Island, and Ozzy proposes a crazy idea.
Cochran and I got back from the duel, and I wanted to let Cochran in on my worst case scenario plan. I don't want to go to Redemption, but if it comes down to it, if it's like a do or die situation, I will go. Hopefully win.
The general sense around camp is that the merge is happening sooner rather than later. And now Ozzy suggested that he'd be willing to make a pretty bold move in the event that we lose our next immunity challenge. He's considering lending his hidden immunity idol to somebody else on the tribe, allow Ozzy himself to get voted out of our tribe so that he can be sent to Redemption Island Arena and duel against Christina, and then hopefully win, come back to our tribe and keep our numbers intact. 6-6 tie going into the merge. It's an admirable thing, man. Seriously.
I mean, it's just, sometimes you just gotta sack up and go for it.
It sounds great, but people say stuff like this all the time only to not follow through with it. It's like the show leaves it in the edit to be like, hey, future players, maybe you should try this. Wouldn't it actually be cool if you actually did it for once? Though Ozzy is an emotional guy, and if this idea tickles him just right, he may do it. The show then has everyone paint up as twins for another movie reward. We haven't seen a movie reward since Nicaragua when 2 people quit at the same time. Jeff then tries to explain how this Adam Sandler film, Jack and Jill, where Adam Sandler plays both Jack and Jill, is just like Survivor. Press X for doubt. Their tribe loses, thankfully for us so we don't have to watch it. But it's mostly thanks to Cochran that they lose, and Ozzy is ticked. He really wanted to watch Jack and Jill. But what is weirder is that Coach's tribe is now making a public display of prayer, but not in a good way. Like in a forced way, it doesn't come across as legit. I don't know how to put it. It's more like Coach is running a call, which no one has said yet, but I'm gonna be frank with you, they're gonna say it later. Back at camp, everyone harasses Cochran for sucking at the challenge. And they say, you're gonna have to go to Redemption where you're actually gonna have to redeem yourself for once, for sucking so hard. And Cochran says, I'm more of like a court jester. I don't think I'm gonna win any challenges. Ozzy says, come on, Cochran, show some confidence.
You're gonna go in there and you're gonna tell Christine, you're gonna make it so palpable that Christine's gonna be like, crap, that's it, I'm done.
I don't know how well I can pull off the whole, I'm indestructible, so you better be shaking in your boots, you stupid bitch.
The next morning, something stirs within Ozzy. Like Cowboy in Cook Islands, Ozzy has a dream. Nothing about credit cards in this one, though. He wants to do the thing he told Cochran about. Ozzy's going to hand Cochran his idol, get voted out, eliminate Christine, re-enter the game. That's his plan. What a relief, because if Cochran got voted out, I'm pretty sure he was done. Keith says, I hate this idea. Cochran needs to fight his own battles. Whatever, Keith, shut up. So at Tribal Council, they all go to vote, and
22 seasons of Survivor. I've never seen anything like this, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it, especially if it means saving my ass for one more tribe. Thank you.
7th person voted out of Survivor South Pacific.
Lucky 7.
Ozzy, need to bring me your torch. Ozzy, the tribe has spoken.
that has to be the happiest vote out I have ever seen. Back at camp, Keith is guilting Cochran again. And again, I say, shut up, Keith. And the tribe decides that come the merge, Cochran will play double agent to find out who Upolo wants to target so they can play their idol correctly. So upon arriving at the Redemption Island duel,
I gave pretty much everything to my tribe,
and then we lose one challenge because somebody can't operate a clip, and that ends up being the person that sends me here. You play the idol, you don't even... I know someone else probably knew that you had it. As far as I'm concerned, tribe boundaries, I mean, if we're at the merge, they don't exist anymore. It's all 1 for 1, and whoever sticks together from this point on makes it farthest in the game. But I thrive under the pressure to come back in the game for revenge, basically.
The acting was so bad, a dead giveaway. All Ozzy had to do was say Cochran is a jerk who idled him out. And that's it, keep it simple. Ozzy does beat Christine as expected, and they are merged. Each tribe with 6 members, Cochran says being a double agent will be a lot of fun for him. They all merge on the Savai'i campsite, and that is when Coach finds out that Keith and Whitney get the good sleeping spot to snuggle all night while Cochran has to sleep elsewhere. And again, this is a secret scene because the show doesn't really want to focus on Keith and Whitney with their marital cheating, but then Coach talks to Cochran and...
Here's the thing, I'm going to tell you right now, our tribe has a budget, and I feel like you guys are trying to play us, okay? You guys came up with a story, you guys sent Ozzy to redemption, you got an idol in your pocket, okay, and knowing that Ozzy would win redemption. It was a risk, but you knew that Ozzy would win redemption.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
If all 6 survive vote together, there's a 1 in 5 chance that you're going to be drawing a black rock. And so will I. And that's a way to play the game. There's a line in the sand. Come across that line.
All in all, what I took away from Coach is that he's an incredibly intelligent guy. I mean, I've watched him, always viewed him as this eccentric dragon slayer who talks about wizards and, you know, King Arthur. But he's a smart guy, and Coach laid it all on the table for me, saying I could make us draw rocks the next tribal council, or, and what I'm maybe most seriously considering, I could completely jump ship, betray my old tribe, and join a polo.
When did Coach get so smart? Is this the same guy we saw in seasons 18-20? What happened to the Coach I knew? He seems like he actually has it together now. Cochran is all in on this flip as he tells Upolo everything. I mean, it's been like 2 minutes, including who Savai'i is targeting and who Ozzy is playing the idol for. That is so dumb. What is he doing? Don talks to Cochran and advises against a flip and says, no way. We need to stay loyal to our tribe to have a chance to win. True. Very true, Don. Flipping on Savai'i to Upolo would burn 5 potential jurors all at once and would solidify you can't win. No one's gonna respect you. We then see Don and Ozzy win immunity. Nice. At this point, a rock draw is likely to happen, the first one since season 4, if they have a tie vote at tribal council, meaning 5 or 6 Upolo members would draw rocks based on what we know from season 4's rock draw. And frankly, there's a rock draw in the future, and I don't know what the rules are this season, so I'm just going between the two and trying to figure out what are the odds. So anyways, it's either 5 or 6 Upolo members would draw rocks, and 2 or 3 Savai'is would draw rocks. Either way, the odds are incredibly in Savai'i's favor with this going their way. They have like half of their tribe, if not more, safe from a rock draw, depending on how the rules are this time around. Cochran then tells Sophie even more information for free, and she tells him nothing. He is just giving up for nothing in return. Terrible, just terrible. Cochran's mindset is that he wants to put the game in his own hands, but like JT in Heroes vs. Villains, I don't think he has enough info to make a good call here, as he barely knows Upolo. Why not wait for Savai'i to get the numbers over Upolo and then pull a Sesternino circa season 6 and use them as bottom feeders to do his bidding? Anyways, at tribal council, Jim says it makes 0 sense for anyone to flip at this point. Agreed, Jim, agree. So they all go to vote, and
If anybody has a hidden immunity idol and you want to play it, now would be the time to do so.
I'll play it. Might as well. Now's the time. So it's for Whitney.
This is a hidden immunity idol. Any votes cast for Whitney will not count. First vote. Keith. Rick. Keith. Rick. Keith. 3 for Rick. 4 votes, Keith. Cowboy. Rick. That's 5 votes, Keith. Rick. That's 5 votes, Rick. Keith. 6 votes, Keith. Rick. We are tied. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna re-vote. You can only vote for Keith or Rick. Keith and Rick, you will not vote. If anybody is thinking about changing their vote, this is your last chance. First vote, Keith. Rick. Keith. 2 votes Keith. Rick, 2 votes Rick. That's 3 votes Keith. Rick, 3 votes Rick. Keith, 4 votes Keith. 4 votes Rick. Keith, 5 votes Keith. 8th person voted out of Survivor South Pacific. Keith, need to bring me your torch.
Coward.
Keith, the tribe has spoken.
Coward. Don't talk to him like that. That's what you get. Stay close to me.
Hello, welcome to the second half of Cochran's story video. You see, the first half we saw a scraggly underdog boy man who was quirky and fun to root for. Now, the story has shifted. We have villain Cochran. Same person, different perspective, as he single-handedly gave the cult alliance of Upolo the power to run the season. Because yes, it is a cult. What he doesn't realize is that he is likely number 7 in their alliance, and at worst, on Savai, he was 6. Wow, great job, proud of you. We then see Cochran lie to Ozzy about why he flipped, saying it had nothing to do with the Savai members personally, and Jim says, "You are a coward and a poor excuse for a man, never talk to me again." Ozzy calls him a wiener in confessional, which is my favorite of all the reactions, and Whitney says, "Don't kid yourself, Cochran, this move was super personal, you don't have to lie to me." Yep, Cochran just burned 5 potential jury members for, in my opinion, no good reason. Amazing. Jim wins immunity and Ozzy is the target. At tribal council, Ozzy is confused. He says, "Cochran, when did I ever make you feel small?" Ozzy, come on, man. Cochran says, all pre-merge. You constantly berated my challenge performance and tried to vote me off, which is very true. Ozzy doesn't even argue this. He knows it's true. So they all go to vote and...
You have been trying to get me out since week 1, so I don't think it's that inappropriate for me to be voting for you.
First vote, Ozzy. Ozzy, 2 votes Ozzy. Ozzy, 3 votes Ozzy. Cochran. Cochran. Ozzy, that's 4 votes Ozzy, 2 votes Cochran. Ozzy, that's 5 votes Ozzy. 9th person voted out of Survivor South Pacific. Ozzy, that's 6, that's enough.
You guys fell for my master plan.
Ozzy, once again, tribe has spoken.
Man, every Savai member being voted off because of Cochran's flip is so dumb to his chances of winning this game. At the immunity challenge, everyone sits out to eat pastries, except Dawn, Whitney, and Jim. It's a bad look for all of Upolo plus Cochran. Whitney then wins immunity, and Jim says Cochran is playing an amazing 3rd place game because he is going to be dragged to the end as a goat that anyone can beat. While he is saying this, Cochran is being his usual goofy self, like it's contrasting between the two, but yeah, it's definitely showing that Cochran's not winning. So they all go to vote, and
10th person voted out of Survivor South Pacific. Jim. Jim, tribe has spoken.
Cochran has played the most brilliant 3rd place game in Survivor history.
You can't predict the impossible that somebody would be that much of a freaking just coward.
I mean, that's really what, coward is like the word that just keeps ringing over and over for me.
Somebody that literally won't fight their own battles. They'll let somebody else do it for them and then stab them in the back.
Well, and it's somebody that has a philosophy that they're playing not to lose, but they're not playing to win.
I said that to him when I was like, how do you feel like you're playing? Do you feel like you're actually, contributing? Like, he literally hasn't done a single thing this entire game.
Zero. He hasn't, nothing but a liability.
But Elise wouldn't have done this.
At least it would have been hotter to watch too. I would have somehow, some way loved to see Cochran here. Just so you guys could beat the out of him.
yes, that secret scene on Redemption shows you the Savai members' true thoughts about Cochran as if you didn't really know. 0% chance of winning. We then see Dawn feel responsible for letting Cochran flip and ultimately kill the Savai tribe. Cochran says, "Don't blame yourself, it's not your fault." He then does some Coach Chi where Cochran says to make it far in this game, he must follow the cult leader, that's what he calls Coach, and do as he says. But then Coach makes Cochran a half promise.
Do you think everybody else is going to vote me at 7?
I will do everything in my power to make sure that doesn't happen. But everybody always says that I'm in control of the game. I'm really not.
I was kind of alarmed to hear that Coach is pretty concerned about Albert's mind in the game right now. I think there's some sort of power struggle. Albert, he is possibly one of the 2 biggest leaders of that group, so it's possible he's aware that they are gunning for me earlier than they say they are. So I'm starting to get concerned about my place in this game. I felt comfortable 24 hours ago. Today I'm not so comfortable.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too promising. Jim is right that Cochran is playing an amazing third place game. And in any other season, I think that's what would happen. But the cult of Upolu is too strong to let Cochran break them up. Cochran realizes the error of his ways. I mean, it's way too late, but he realizes it finally. He's like, I don't want to end up in 7th. What did he think was gonna happen? So he tells Don and Whitney he wants to work with them now. Too little, too late, dude. Who on Upolu can you possibly flip? You didn't have enough information. This is why it was a bad idea. We then see Sophie win immunity, and Jeff says, tonight we will have a Twisted Tribal, and since the season is a 1-for-1 copy of the last, we kinda can guess what it is. They're gonna have a double vote off. Albert tells Cochran that for sure he is out in 7th place, and Cochran says, what the heck? I am owed a better spot. Why? Upolu tricked you. All 6 of them earned their spots. Cochran says, Survivor is all about big moves. I'm not sure where he heard that from, and he may be the first person to ever say that on the show. Don't quote me, but I don't remember anyone before Cochran saying that. So he says Survivor's all about big moves. And if big moves means dumb moves, then sure, I guess so. A lot of people do them. At Tribal, again, it is emphasized that Cochran will finish in 7th, and Cochran is in denial. And even Jeff says, dude, obviously. It makes Cochran look so dumb. We then see Dawn voted out, the only person who I could actually see voting for Cochran, and then Sophie wins immunity, so Whitney is voted off next. All of Savai'i is gone except Cochran. Episode 12, aka the final several, aka Cochran is going home. Here we are. Cochran says now is the time to make a move to avoid elimination by the family. Sure bud. Too little, too late.
5th grade, for whatever reason, was kind of like my rambunctious period. I wanted to change my reputation as a brown noser, so the nastiest thing I could think of was to start prank calling people, and I went back to my house. I didn't have a very good understanding of how sex worked, so I was calling these girls and saying things like, hey, I think you're so hot. I really want to trade sperm with you.
When I first came here, I felt kind of bad for Cochran. It seemed like people bullied him. But I can see now why people got annoyed with him. You know, I get frustrated by the kind of air he puts on. I think he's really proud of the move he made. And I think he still thinks that somebody will take him to the end. I don't like it.
Pre-merge of this happened, there would have been like goofy, fun music, but now it's all ominous. The fun of Cochran's story left the moment he burned Savai'i, and the edit has done nothing to bring it back. Hence why Sophie gets to dunk on him. Cochran then talks to all of Upolu, minus Edna, about saving him over her, and they go, yeah, we'll totally think about it. Spoiler alert, they won't really think about it. Sophie says, screw Cochran, he made a dumb move and now he has to live with it. Albert then wins immunity and gives Cochran the reward he won since Cochran says, it's my birthday.
Up to this point, I've never had a massage. I'm thrilled to see that, some stupid little white lie about when my birthday was, which actually took place 6 months ago, is helping me at least somewhat in this game, even if it's just to get a free massage.
Again, what would have been funny in the pre-merge does not come across the same way now. Cochran then talks to Albert and Sophie about flipping, and Albert is on board, but Sophie is not. Cochran then tries to turn the tide on Rick since he calls Albert Princess Albert, which I think is kind of funny. People are like, I guess, maybe. Edna seems half interested. At Tribal, Cochran tries to guilt the entire Upolu tribe into keeping him, and that's when he finally realizes he made a big mistake.
13th person voted out of Survivor South Pacific. Cochran. The tribe has spoken.
Jeez.
Just take the steps.
Yeah.
Cochran is on Redemption Island against Ozzy because yes, Ozzy has been expertly beating everyone who comes there. Cochran says in retrospect, I realize Upolu might have used me. Yeah, welcome to Duhville, population U. Ozzy tells Cochran, if you make Final 3, I will vote for you. And Cochran is like, yeah, I can't promise the same thing. Dude, like, come on, man. Did you not write a whole essay about Survivor juries? You know to say, come on, Cochran. So they go to compete and...
Ozzy wins the duel and stays alive!
So let's break this down. How is Cochran as a character? Cochran is one of 4 main characters this season. Every scene seems to be about either Coach, Ozzy, Brandon, or Cochran. There's a lot of Cochran. And for the entire pre-merge, his story was this quirky underdog you rooted for, as he clearly wanted to be there and tried his hardest while also being constantly entertaining. I mean, the story loves him sitting in like that chair that kind of looks like a throne maybe, and he gets to talk to the camera. They love when he gets to do that. However, his story shifts when he flips to Apollo and gives them all the power. That is when Cochran becomes the unlikable weasel who we should hate for ruining Savai, and namely, Ozzy's chances at winning. Did Cochran change as a person after the flip? No, but this story stopped letting him have the fun edit and leaned more into others cutting him down whenever they could. Out of 24 character moments shown on the show, 12 are heroic and 12 are villainous, making Cochran a polarizing character on Survivor South Pacific. Now, how is Cochran as a strategist? How can someone be so smart and yet so deeply flawed? Stupidity is the answer. Yeah, you can be smart, but like JT in Heroes vs. Villains, I don't think Cochran had enough info to make the call that he did at the merge. He didn't know Apollo, there was no tribe swap or anything, he just met them and decided, I'm gonna tell them everything because at least they're not Savai. His quirky charm clearly won people over and he is a joy to listen to, I'll admit, but him doing it 24/7 clearly grated on people who weren't eating, as Sophie pointed out, and I believe flipping on Savai could have worked in his favor. He just did it far too soon and guaranteed 5 people would never vote for him. He didn't have a chance of winning. Out of 42 strategic moments shown on the show, 21 were smart and 21 were dumb, making Cochran an average strategist on Survivor South Pacific. Thank you for watching and doubly thanks for liking and subscribing. I'll see you all next time.